A millionaire lied to protect black girl and accidentally fell in love with her. Instead, real-life stories. Jade, if you say one wrong word, I'm finished. She looked up from her phone, confused. What are you talking about? Bryce Coleman stood right beside her in the elevator, his face pale, his voice low but sharp. My father's here. He thinks I'm engaged. Jade blinked. Engaged? To who? To you, he said. Just go with it, she laughed nervously. That's not funny. I'm not joking. He turned to face her, his eyes hard but desperate. If he finds out the truth, I lose everything. My position, my company, everything I've built. Jade shook her head. Bryce, this is insane. I'm your assistant, not your fiancé. Then pretend. He adjusted his tie, straightened his jacket. Just for one day, please. The elevator stopped on the 42nd floor. The doors opened. Standing right there was Richard Coleman, Bryce's father. Tall, strict, unreadable. He stared straight at them. Bryce didn't hesitate. He reached for Jade's hand. His grip was firm but trembling. Dad, he said smoothly, I'd like you to meet Jade Monroe. Richard's eyes moved slowly from Bryce to Jade. And who is Miss Monroe? Bryce paused, just long enough to make her heart stop. She's my fiancé. The silence hit like a wave. Every head in the boardroom turned. Someone coughed. Someone whispered. Jade could feel her pulse in her neck. She tried to pull her hand away, but Bryce held on tighter. Richard raised an eyebrow. Fiancé? His tone was cold, testing. That's surprising, Bryce smiled faintly. You taught me to make bold decisions, remember? Jade forced herself to speak. It's nice to meet you, sir. Her voice barely came out. Richard looked at her a moment longer, then said, We'll see how long this decision lasts. Bryce exhaled slowly, still holding her hand. She didn't look at him. She had no idea why he lied, but deep down she already knew this wasn't just about business. The meeting ended, but Jade couldn't move. Everyone had left the boardroom, yet she was still sitting there, staring at the empty chair across the table, the one Bryce had just walked away from like nothing happened. Her hands were cold. Her mind was racing. She stood up, grabbed her laptop bag, and stormed toward his office. When she pushed the glass door open, Bryce was already there, pacing, loosening his tie. What was that, Bryce? She demanded. You just announced me as your fiancé in front of half the company. He didn't look up. I had no choice. You had 1,000 choices, she shot back. You could have said anything else. Bryce stopped pacing and looked at her. His expression wasn't arrogant now. It was tired, almost broken. You don't understand, Jade. My father controls everything. The company, my money, my future. He threatened to replace me last month if I didn't settle down. Jade folded her arms. So you dragged me into your family drama. I didn't plan this, he said quietly. He showed up without warning. You were the only one in the elevator. I panicked. She stared at him, her anger fading just a little. You used me, Bryce. Do you even realize what people will say? They'll say I made the best decision of my life, he said softly. Jade froze. For the first time, his eyes weren't cold. They were gentle, honest. Don't, she warned. Don't turn this into something else. He smiled faintly. You think I wanted this? You think I enjoy lying? I just didn't want him to destroy everything I worked for. Jade shook her head, backing away. This isn't my problem. You lied, not me. Bryce stepped closer. It is now. Because my father's inviting you to dinner tonight. With the family. Her breath caught. What? He wants to meet his future daughter-in-law. You have to come. Jade, please, just one evening. She stared at him, disbelief and panic mixing in her chest. You said it would be 10 minutes. I lied, he admitted. And now we're both in it. Jade stood in front of the mirror staring at her reflection. She had changed her outfit 3 times. Nothing looked right. Nothing felt right. Why was she even doing this? She wasn't his fiancée. She wasn't part of his world. Still, here she was, about to have dinner with Bryce Coleman's powerful family because of one stupid lie. A black sedan pulled up outside her apartment. Bryce stepped out in a dark coat, his hair neatly styled, his face unreadable. He didn't knock. He texted instead. Bryce, "Ready?" She typed back. Jade. No, but she went anyway. The restaurant was quiet and expensive, the kind of place where every table had its own waiter and no one raised their voice. Bryce led her in, his hand lightly touching her back, guiding her like they'd done this 1,000 times before. "Relax," he whispered. "They can smell fear." "That's comforting," she muttered. At the table sat Richard Coleman and Bryce's stepmother, Elaine, who smiled politely but with eyes that scanned Jade like a resume. "Jade," Richard greeted. "It's nice to finally meet the woman who made my son grow up." Jade smiled softly. "He didn't give me much choice, sir," Elaine laughed. "She's quick. I like that." Bryce looked at Jade, a small smile tugging at his lips. For the first time she looked comfortable. Confident even. But it didn't last long. Richard leaned forward. "So, Jade, what exactly do you do at Henderson Media?" Jade hesitated. She wasn't supposed to tell the truth. Bryce answered for her. "She's part of the creative strategy team. She's been instrumental in our success." Richard nodded slowly. "I see, from assistant to fiancé. That's quite a promotion." The jab landed hard. Jade felt the heat rise in her face, but she stayed calm. "Sometimes people just notice what others overlook," she said evenly. Elaine smiled wider this time. "She's smart too, Bryce." For a moment the tension broke. They talked. They laughed lightly. Jade surprised even herself. She wasn't just surviving this dinner, she was owning it. But then Richard asked the question that made her heart drop. "So, when's the wedding?" Bryce froze. Jade looked at him, her pulse quickening. He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. "We haven't set a date yet," Jade said quickly, saving him. "We're taking things slow." Richard's eyes softened just a little. "Smart. Rushing only leads to mistakes." The waiter came, breaking the moment. Bryce finally exhaled. As dinner ended, Richard stood to leave. "You might be good for him after all, Jade. I'll be watching." When he left, Jade turned to Bryce. "You owe me for that." Bryce smiled faintly. "Dinner's not over yet. What do you mean?" "We're supposed to act in love," he said softly. "And right now, everyone's still watching." He held out his hand. For a second she hesitated, then placed hers in his. It felt too real, too warm, too dangerous. They left the restaurant together, pretending to smile for the cameras outside. Bryce's driver opened the door, but he didn't move. He looked at Jade instead. "Really looked. You saved me back there," he said quietly. Jade crossed her arms. "You almost got us both killed." "I didn't plan that," he replied, voice low. "You handled it better than I did," she gave a small laugh. "You, the great Bryce Coleman? Losing control." He smiled faintly. "Don't tell anyone. It'll ruin my reputation." The car ride back was silent at first. The city lights flashed across their faces, painting them in gold and shadow. Then Bryce finally spoke. "I know you think I'm just some spoiled rich guy who lies to get his way. Am I wrong?" she asked. He turned to her. "Maybe not. But I didn't lie to hurt you, Jade. I did it because my father only understands power, not people. He never cared what I wanted, only what looked good on paper." Jade listened quietly. There was something in his voice she hadn't heard before. Honesty. "You think a fake fiancé fixes that?" she asked. "It wasn't about fixing anything," he said. "It was about having one moment where I could decide for myself." She looked away. "And I was convenient." "No," he said softly. "You were real." The words hung between them. Real. For a moment, neither spoke. The tension in the car wasn't cold anymore. It was warm, dangerous, alive. When the car stopped outside her apartment, Jade reached for the door handle. "You don't have to thank me," she said quietly. "Just end this before it gets worse." Bryce looked down, then back at her. "I can't. He's already planning a family event this weekend. Everyone will be there. If you don't show up, he'll know." Jade sighed. "You're unbelievable." I know, he said, almost smiling. But you're the only one I trust. She paused at the door. Don't make this personal, Bryce. It's just a lie. He leaned closer, his voice almost a whisper. Then why does it feel so real? Jade froze. The question hit harder than she expected. She stepped out of the car without answering. Bryce watched her walk away, her silhouette fading into the dim streetlight. For the first time in years, he felt something he couldn't control. Not money, not power, just her. And deep down, he knew this lie wasn't ending any time soon. The next morning, Jade walked into Henderson Media like she was walking into a storm. People weren't even trying to hide their stares now. Whispers followed her through the hallway. Soft, cutting, endless. Is that her? Bryce Coleman's fiancée? No way. She was his assistant last week. Jade kept her head high, pretending not to care. But inside, every whisper felt like a blade. When she reached her desk, her friend Mia leaned closer and whispered, "Is it true?" Jade gave a tight smile. "Depends what you heard. That you're marrying the boss." Jade sighed. "People really have nothing better to do." Before Mia could reply, Bryce walked in. The room went silent. He looked sharp, serious, but his eyes searched only for her. "Jade," he said calmly, "my office. Now." Whispers exploded again as she followed him. Once the door closed behind them, Jade spun around. "You need to fix this. Everyone's talking." Bryce leaned against his desk. "Let them. Easy for you to say. You're not the one they're judging." He frowned. "You think I don't hear it? You think I don't see how they look at you? That's exactly why we can't back down now." She stared at him. "You're enjoying this, aren't you? All the attention." Bryce shook his head. "You think I like watching people talk about you like that?" Something in his tone made her pause. "Then end it, Bryce. Tell them the truth. Tell your father the truth." He looked away. "If I do that, he'll destroy you. He'll make sure you never work in this city again. That's what he does to people who cross him." "So I'm your shield now?" she asked bitterly. "No," he said softly. "You're the only reason I'm still fighting him." Jade froze. "What does that mean?" He took a slow step closer. "When I said you were real, I meant it. You're not afraid of him. You're not impressed by me. You talk to me like I'm just human. No one does that. Bryce, stop. No, I can't stop." He was closer now. "When you walked away last night, it felt like something ended. And I don't even know what we're pretending anymore." Jade's chest tightened. "This is wrong. You lied. I went along with it. That's all this is." "Then look me in the eye," he said quietly, "and tell me it means nothing." She opened her mouth, but no words came out. He smiled faintly, almost sad. "That's what I thought." Before she could respond, the office door burst open. It was Richard Coleman. His expression was thunder. "So it's true," Richard said coldly. "You're bringing your personal drama into my company now?" Bryce straightened. "Dad, it's not drama. It's a disaster," Richard snapped. "You've embarrassed this family, this business. End it, or I will." Jade stepped back, feeling small under his glare. Bryce turned to her, then back to his father. "No," Bryce said firmly. "I won't end it." Richard's eyes narrowed. "You're really throwing away your career for this girl?" "No," Bryce said. "I'm finally choosing what's real." The silence after that was heavy. Everyone outside could probably hear it. Richard took a slow breath. "Then you're on your own." He turned and left, the door slamming behind him. Jade stood frozen. "You just ruined everything." Bryce gave a small, tired smile. "Maybe, but for once it's my choice." "Why would you do that?" She whispered. "Because I'm done living his lie," he said. "And maybe I'm done pretending this isn't more than one." Jade shook her head, tears filling her eyes. "You don't even know me." "Maybe not," he said softly, "but I want to." For a long moment, neither moved. The air between them felt different. Not fake, not forced. Real, painful, honest. Jade finally spoke. "You can't fix your life by breaking mine." Bryce nodded slowly. "Then help me fix both." She didn't answer. She just turned and walked out. But as she reached the hallway, she stopped, because everyone was staring again, not out of gossip this time. Out of shock. Behind her, Bryce had followed, and before anyone could say a word, he took her hand. In front of the entire office. No more pretending. No more lies. Just truth. Raw, risky, and real. And for the first time, Jade didn't pull away. The next morning, the news was everywhere. Billionaire Bryce Coleman defies his father for love. Who is Jade Monroe? The story spread fast. Photos from the office, from the restaurant, even the moment he held her hand. Everyone had an opinion, but Jade only felt one thing: fear. Her phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Reporters waited outside her building. Strangers followed her online. And Bryce, the man who started it all, hadn't called once since yesterday. By noon, she made a decision. She walked straight into Henderson Media, through the whispers, through the stairs, and up to Bryce's office. He was standing by the window, jacket off, phone on the desk. He looked exhausted. "You made me famous," she said quietly. He turned around, eyes full of guilt. "I didn't mean for this to happen." "But it did," she said. "Everyone's talking about us like it's a movie. But it's not. It's my life." Bryce walked closer. "I was trying to protect you from him. I thought if I made it public, he couldn't touch you." "You don't protect someone by lying to the whole world," she said. "You protect them by telling the truth." He stopped. His voice dropped. "You're right. And that's what I'm going to do." Before she could speak, he picked up his phone and dialed a number. "Call a press conference," he said. "In 1 hour." 1 hour later, the media filled the lobby. Cameras, lights, reporters. Bryce stood at the podium. Jade stood off to the side, her heart pounding. He began speaking calmly, but his voice carried across the room. "Yesterday, I lied. I told the world that Jade Monroe was my fiancée. She wasn't. She didn't know I'd say that. It was my mistake and not hers." The room buzzed. Cameras flashed. "I did it because I was scared. I've lived my whole life trying to be the man my father wanted, not the man I wanted to be. Jade reminded me what real courage looks like, and I owe her the truth." He turned to her then. His voice softened. "Jade, I'm sorry. But I wasn't lying about one thing." Everyone went silent. "You changed me. And somewhere between all the lies, I fell in love with you." Jade stood frozen. The world blurred. Cameras, people, noise, everything faded except his voice. She walked up to him, eyes glistening. "You didn't need to say that," she whispered. "I needed to," he replied. "Because for once, it's the truth." The room erupted with flashes and noise, but Jade didn't care anymore. She looked at him, this broken, stubborn man who had finally learned honesty. And she smiled, not because the world was watching, because for the first time she believed him. Moral message. Sometimes the truth hurts more than lies, but only the truth can heal what lies destroy. Love isn't built on pretending. It's built on courage, honesty, and the moment you choose to stop hiding.